This is day 3 in our unit about statistics. We are working on standard deviation, and specifically we're going to learn how to use our calculator to help us find the standard deviation and other basic statistics like mean and median. Alright, so take a look at this problem. Teacher A assigned the following number of homework problems over an 8-day span. So she assigned 11 problems this day, 15 problems that day, and so on. Teacher B assigned problems according to this data: 13 problems this day, 9 problems that day, 16 problems that day, and so on. Okay, we are supposed to calculate the following for the data given for teacher A. So focus on teacher A for right now. We need to calculate the mean, median, mode, range, variance, and standard deviation. Okay, let's start with the mean. Of course, we know that if we wanted to calculate the mean by hand, that would mean adding up all these numbers, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, and then dividing by how many we have. It said 8 days, I think, so I guess I could have counted it. But over 8-day span. So yeah, I could divide by 8, and that would be my mean, which is given by x bar, by the way. But today I want to go ahead and show you how to use the calculator to find these statistics. Specifically, we are using the TI-30 XS multi-view. So here's what I want you to do. If possible, reset your calculator. I'm going to hit second 0 and choose yes. If you hit on and clear at the same time, that will also reset your calculator. Hit your data button. This is where we do our statistics. So the first thing is always to type in the numbers. So 11, 15, 10, 30. I'm going to just start typing them in L1. So 11, enter. 15, enter. 10, enter. And so on. Blah, 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 and 15. Notice this number here tells us which number we're on, the 8th number, so we know we should be done. And here it says 9 because I'm on the empty space after it. So I've got my 8 values in there. So what you do next is, if you look at the data button, see above the data button it says stat. We want that. So hit second data. That gives us the statistics menu. And we want one variable, statistics. It's already highlighted, so I can just hit enter. Okay, we just typed the data into list 1, so that's good. You can just leave the frequency at 1. So just hit enter 1, 2, 3 times. Now, this is a list through which you can scroll. Let me just mention a couple of things. You've gone too far this time. This first item just tells us how many elements we have. All right, we have 8 numbers. Now, the second one is one of the things we need, x bar. X bar is the mean. So that is 15.125. Let's write that down. So the mean is 15.125. Now in general, you're going to round this to the nearest 10th or maybe the nearest 100th, 2 decimal places. But I'm just going to leave it like this for right now. More decimals is always better. Now the median. The median is also in this list. I just hit the wrong button. If we scroll down looking for the median, alright, by the way, that's the minimum value, the lowest number. Okay, item number 9 here, MED, that stands for median. So the median is 14.5. So let's write that down. So 14.5 is the median. Now, the calculator is not going to help us out with the mode. Alright, of course we know the mode is the number that you get, whichever number is repeated most often. 11, 15, 10, 30, 17, 14, 9, 15. Okay, there's a repeater. 15 is the only number that repeats in this list, so 15 is the mode. By the way, quick review, median. If we were going to find the median by hand, what would we have done? We would have had to write these numbers in order from least to greatest. Okay, how quickly can I do that? Bam! If I cheat and pause the video, I can do it super fast. So now I've rewritten these numbers in order from least to greatest, and the median should be the middle number. Since we have an even number of numbers, 8, then there will be 2 middle numbers in this case. And the 4th and 5th numbers are the 2 middle numbers. So the median, we would get it by doing the mean of these two. So if I do 14 plus 15 divided by 2, the mean of the middle two numbers, that is how we could have gotten the median if we were doing it by hand. Alright, but the calculator just gave it to us, so we're going to run with that today. Today is all about the technology. Now the range. The range is the highest value minus the lowest value. The max minus the min. So that's going to be my 30 minus my 9. Okay, so my range is going to be 30 minus 9. Okay, which of course is going to be 21. Alright, so that's the range. Now it's time for the variance and the standard deviation. Now, the standard deviation and the variance, if we were going to find it by hand, this is where we would make a table and we would put the data here, and then we'd find the mean. Well, we already found that, and we would subtract the mean from each data element, and then we'd square that, and so on. And we would wind up finding the standard deviation, and we'd find the variance along the way. And I'm going to do that, but first let me show you that the calculator already has the standard deviation on it. So going back to that same list where we found the mean and the median, we are going to find the standard deviation. Remember that the symbol for standard deviation is a lowercase sigma, which looks something like this. It's hard for me to draw. Alright, something like that is the symbol, is a lowercase sigma. So kind of keep an eye out for that as we maybe scroll down. And here it is, item number 4. Now there's two different kinds of standard deviation. Right now, technically we are dealing with the standard deviation of a population, and that's what number 4 is. Later on we'll learn about the S, which is the standard deviation of a sample, but do not worry your pretty little head about that right now. So this is the lowercase sigma, this is the standard deviation. So I'm going to go ahead and keep 2 decimals on this, so that's 6.19. Let's write that down. Okay, so the standard deviation is 6.19. Now the variance. I skipped to the standard deviation because that does show up on the calculator. The variance does not show up on the calculator. But that does not worry me, because the variance is just the standard deviation squared. Okay? In fact, this is the symbol for variance, and if you know the symbol for variance, you know how to do the variance, because the variance is just the standard deviation squared. So I could type 6.19 into my calculator and square it. But I don't like to round and then do stuff with a rounded number if I can avoid it. And I can avoid it. See how I have the 4 highlighted right now? If I hit enter, okay, I forgot I was in a table. Hold on. Let me start from a blank area and go back to my statistics area. So second, data, 1 variable, statistics, enter, enter, enter. Now I'm back. Okay, if I go to item 4 and hit enter, notice how it prints the little standard deviation symbol. Now this symbol is containing all of those decimals, all those good decimals of accuracy. So if I want the standard deviation squared, I can just square this. Okay, and they're giving me this fraction. That is great, but let's go ahead and toggle that. So we are going to get 38.36. Okay, so that is the variance, 38.36. Now I'm curious, if I were to square 6.19, will that give me the exact same thing? So let's try that. 6.19 squared. All right, see I'm getting 38.32. So I'm a few hundredths off. Even if I rounded this to one decimal place, this would have been 38.4, rounding up, and this would have been 38.3. Okay, so you see by using the 0.19, it's a little bit off, so it's much better to use the entire standard deviation and square that instead of rounding and then squaring. All right, so that is how you can use your calculator to find all of these things. If you're in my class, you have to make the table because that's part of what I'm trying to teach you right now. I want you to be able to use the technology, but I also want you to understand the meaning behind it. So you do have to make this table. You can still use your calculator to help you out along the way, and I'm going to show you that as well. But if you're one of my students, do not skip the table. So let's go ahead and type all the data in, or for you, you'll be writing it down like we're supposed to. All right, so here I have typed my data into the table. You'd be doing this by hand, of course. In the middle column, of course, we're supposed to take the mean and subtract it from each one of these numbers and put it here. Now, the calculator can help. Of course, you can do this one at a time, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if anything I do, everything I'm about to show you right now in terms of using the calculator is optional. So if you don't understand the functions that I'm about to do and it seems more confusing than it's worth, then you don't worry about it. You don't have to know how to use your calculator just to subtract. You can subtract one at a time if you want. But I'm going to show you how to use your calculator to automatically subtract all the numbers at once, and then automatically square all the numbers at once. What's happening? So if I lose you and you don't like it and you're like, why? Don't worry, this is optional. You can just do it manually and that is fine. It'll just take you a little bit longer, but it's not that bad. So this is how you do it. Notice 3 columns. When you look back at your TI-30 XS multi-view, you hit that data button. What do you notice? 3 columns. Very interesting. Notice that the first column is where the data goes. Looking at the calculator, the first column, L1, is where the data is. So that means in this column, this is where we would like to take these numbers and subtract the mean. Please remember that the mean was 15.125. So I would like column L2, list 2, to be list 1 minus 15.125. So here's how you make that happen. So this is L1, this is L2. We are going to create a formula for this column. So you have to be in column 2 to do this. Everything's all about the data button. So hit your data button right now. See where it says formula? We're going to make a formula, so go over to that. Automatically, item 1 is highlighted, add, edit, formula. We're going to add a formula, so just hit enter. Okay, down here is where you should be focusing your eyeballs. This is the formula that we are creating. Now, it starts off L2 because it's telling you what this L2 column is going to be equal to. Now we want L2 to be L1 minus the mean. In other words, we want this formula to say L2 equals L1 minus 15.125. So how do we get L1 right here? Well, it's all about the data button. When in doubt, hit the data button. Look, there's L1 right there. It's already highlighted, just hit enter. So now we have L2 is equal to L1. That means all of these. But we want the data minus the mean. So we will just say minus 15.125. If I hit enter right now, this is going to do list 1 minus 15.125 for every data entry. So, brip, that's exactly what it did. So now L2 is list 1 minus the mean. So that's how the calculator can automatically do the middle column for us. Okay? Now we need the, so if you're one of my students, you need to write this down. So you're still going to have to copy it over. Okay, so let me just do this a little bit. Okay, just copying off myself. So I'm just going to copy these numbers off my calculator screen. There, I just copied the middle column right off my calculator screen. All right, now we need the third column. The third column is the one where we're supposed to take this middle column, all of these differences, and square them and write them here. The calculator will do that for us as well. So let's move over to list 3. Again, we're going to need a new formula, a formula for list 3. It's all about the data button. When in doubt, hit the data button. We want a formula, so move over to formula. We want to add a formula, so just hit enter. So this formula says list 3 equals, because it's telling us what list 3 is going to become. What do we want list 3 to be? We want list 3 to be list 2 squared. All right, we're squaring all of these. We're squaring list 2. So we need this to say list 3 equals list 2 squared. How do I get list 2, L2 to show up? When in doubt, hit the data button. Kabam! Now there's list 2 right there. So just shimmy on down and pick list 2. So now I have list 3 equals list 2 and just square it like that. If I hit enter, it should square everything. And there, it's done it. So here everything is squared and printed in the third column. Okay. So once again, I just need to copy all of this down. So I'm just going to take this information. I don't know what's going on. Okay, and I'm going to just copy these numbers into the third column. Okay, so now I've copied all of these numbers down. So to find the variance and the standard deviation, the next thing I would do is I would find the mean of all of these squares. Now, the mean of all of these squares, that should be the variance. All right, so I've come this far using the calculator, but now do I finally have to just sit here and add up all of these numbers and divide by 8? I mean, I've been keeping all these decimals. That would really be a mess if I had to do this by hand now. Please tell me I don't have to do it by hand now. Ha! You do not have to do it by hand now. We can go back to the calculator once again. Look, guys, how did we find the mean the first time through? How did we get this 15.125? Well, we didn't do that by hand in the first place. We typed this data into list 1, and we used the statistics above the button there. One variable statistics included the mean. So, couldn't we just do that to the third column now? If the variance is the mean of all of these, Okay, let me just emphasize this by drawing a big old circle around it. We're taking this stuff and we're finding the mean of it, and that's going to be the variance. Okay, so we can just do the same thing we did before. Let me blow this up. So we're just going to find the mean of the third column. So like we did before, we want the stat menu. So I will hit second data to get in here. So we want one variable, statistics, so we hit enter. Now the only thing we have to watch out for is this time we don't want to do the statistics for list 1. The data that we want now is in list 3, so you have to shift over to list 3. That's the only thing you have to watch out for. Hit enter 3 times. Now ignore everything except for the mean. So the mean is 38.36. Okay, so let's just write that down. Okay, so that is our 38.36. That is our variance. Now we would find our standard deviation. Now remember, the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. So that's going to be the square root of 38.36. Now again, this is a rounded number, so it will be better if we use all the decimals. So instead of using 38.36, we really want to use 38.359,375. Now you can either type all that into your calculator, or again, I need to be at a blank screen to start this, or you can do this. Do your statistics. Okay, if I come to this number and hit enter, okay, alright, here is that number that I want. So I want to really take the square root of all of this. So I could have just typed all this in by hand. Or if I hit square root right now, if I go back up to this number and hit enter, it jumps in here. So it saves me a tiny amount of time, but you can always type it in yourself. So if I hit enter, that gives me 6.19. So that is going to be our standard deviation. Now let's see how that compared with what we got the first time when we just cheated and used the calculator. Okay, so the first time through when we cheated, we got that the variance was 38.36. 38.36. We got that the standard deviation was 6.19, and here we have 6.19. Okay, so I have now shown you how to use your calculator and all the features of it, shortcuts to help you, calculate the standard deviation and to find the mean and the median. You can always do it by hand, but you should know how to use your technology. Alright, there's going to be another video to go along with this one because we haven't dealt with Teacher B yet, and we really want to get into some comparison. Okay, when I get down to here, I want to see some sentences explaining how we can compare the two. So stay tuned, stand by. Alright, let's take a look at this. This video is getting a little long, so I am not going to show all of those calculations again for Teacher B. I'm assuming that you can just repeat what I showed you for Teacher A and do that again for Teacher B. So for Teacher B, these are the numbers you should get. Okay, for the mean, median, mode, variance, and standard deviation. Now our goal is to compare the two classes using mean and standard deviation. Just for a second, I want you to see those values kind of side by side. Alright, so here's how it broke down. As we do this comparison, I want you to make 4 sentences. I want you to make 2 sentences that are all about the mean. Okay, just wanted to change the color real quick. All right, so these blue sentences are all about the mean. And then I want you to make 2 sentences that are all about the standard deviation. The first sentence is just going to state the facts. Which teacher had a higher mean? Mention the numbers. The second sentence is going to tell us what that means. Okay, so it should go like this. Look, teacher A had a mean number of homework problems of 15.1. Teacher B had 13 problems. So the first sentence just state that. Teacher A has a higher mean than teacher B. 15.1 versus 13. Now, your second sentence has to tell you what that means. This means that teacher A typically assigns more homework problems than teacher B. Okay? Now, your second 2 sentences will pertain to the standard deviation. Again, the first sentence just states the facts. Who had a higher standard deviation and what were the numbers? Well, looking at it, teacher B has a lower standard deviation than teacher A. 4.18 versus 6.19. So that was your first sentence. Now, you're going to tell me what that means in the second sentence. This means that teacher B is more consistent about the number of problems she assigns, whereas teacher A varies the number of problems more. So, this is the kind of thing I want to see when you are writing your summary statements. Gonna wait for that second bell. Okay, one more thing just to emphasize one more time. Please, when you say that second sentence and you're telling me what it means, in both cases, you have to mention what the problem is about. Okay? This problem is about homework problems, the number of homework problems. So this sentence has to mention teacher A assigns more homework problems. Again, the second sentence, the one that's about standard deviation, has to mention homework problems. So, teacher B is more consistent about the number of problems she assigns. Teacher A varies the number of problems. Okay, do not just say this means teacher B is more consistent. You have to say teacher B is more consistent about the number of problems. All right, that does it for this video. I hope it was helpful to you. I will see you on the next video.